Hello, I'm Dr. Lawrence W. Moore, and this is an overview of a Pure Data patch that I made called Audio Output and Recording Deck. Basically, it's a patch in Pure Data for people that use Pure Data to basically output signal that they want to go to their DAC or basically out the computer speaker or headphones. And it also gives the ability to quickly record things to file. It's a stereo unit, but I've also made a mono version, and that'll be included in the package too. So basically in this video, what we're going to do first is just see how it works for those of you who just want to use it. And then there's going to be a portion of this video where I construct the audio deck. And then at the same time, there's an additional video there where I add a display to it. So for those of you who are learning Pure Data and want to learn how to do more things and make things look nice, this is a nice looking patch that will work great as an audio output as well as recorder for you that you could quickly just load up in your patches and use. And from looking at the tutorials in this video, you'll be able to make your own, for example, if you want to make your own custom version. Okay, so without any further ado, let's go to the videos. Okay there. Now, when you download the zip file and open it up, you'll see a folder just like this. LWM output and recording deck, and then you open that folder, and here's its contents. The file you'll want to open first is OpenMe. These two are two patches that, well, one of them is already in OpenMe. Basically, these are internal patches that when you have PD, sorry about that, basically you open them up and my magnifier zoomed in automatically, and basically you hear a lot of noise. Basically, this is the patch audio output stereo, and basically when you're using your own patches, as long as these files right here in the background, audio output mono or audio output stereo, tildes at the end of both, as long as they're in the same folder with the patch file that you're opening, in this case it's OpenMe, they're in the same folder, you can open these patches within your external patch by making Control-1, an empty object, and then typing in audio underscore output underscore mono tilde, basically the file name without the .pd extension, and the patch will open up inside. And so this is the mono version of this patch here. Now let me show you how it works. Basically, the reason why I had noise blasting at you there is because I have a noise object up here, and it's connected up to the top two corners of the module. The left is the left input, the right is the right input. You don't see inlets there because I have a background canvas to the module, but basically if you connect up your signal patch cables to the left and to the right, you got yourself audio signal coming in. Now this is where you can control, I'm going to go into run mode here, this is where you can control the input level. There, it's all the way down. We wouldn't hear anything even if the output level was up. But basically I have an input and output level. The input is the level of the signal coming in, and that also affects the level of the signal when you record by hitting the record button. And it's also what you see in the displays here. As you see, when I turn the input up, the signal comes back even though I have the output slider down. And it's the same thing with this one. This is a mono version where there's just one inlet on the top left corner here, taking signal in, and then it goes out. I believe I have it hooked up to both sides. Let me see here by opening up the patch. Just so you know, if you right click on the patch and go to open, you can see the patch file that's loaded up. This is the audio output mono patch file that you see back there in the file browser. And basically, I just wanted to double check. I forgot whether I have it going to both sides of the DAC or not. No, it's not going to both sides of the DAC, so it would only come out one speaker. If you want it to come out both speakers, you could simply mend this up like that by putting this amplifier into the right inlet on the DAC. But I'm going to disconnect that, keep it original. And then if you save, it'll save the changes that you make to the patch file. It depends on what your needs are and what you want to do with it. I opened this by accident. Let me get rid of it. There we go. So anyway, that's basically how it works. If you want to record, this will record to a mono file. So it'll be an audio file with just one channel. This one records to a stereo file with two channels. And basically all you do is you hit the record button, and then a browser menu comes up and says, where do you want to record your audio? I included an audio folder here and a file there, test. Let's overwrite it and record another test here. And basically, once you press save, you're recording. Well, first, since we use the same file name here, it'll ask me if I want to overwrite it. Oh, it didn't. It's just writing to it. Okay, so right now we're recording to that file. I'm not recording my voice, but I'm just recording noise here straight into the file. And so that's how it works. Once you press the record button again, it stops recording. So now this file should be, it's in the audio folder. This should be noise. Right now, if I open it, we'll hear it. Joy. Okay. Now let me show you. This does control the level, like let's say whatever you record to the file is too loud. You can also see by these signal indicators if you're clipping. If anything's going outside the top and bottom borders of the box here, the graphic display, that means you're distorting and clipping. But maybe that's just too loud for you, so you want to record it at a level like that. So let's try that. I'm going to put this right in here and overwrite this file. I'll just double click it. Now it asks me. And so we're recording quieter noise to the file. Stop here. And let's see here. Yeah, it's a little quieter. Not a lot. But it's noise, so it just sounds loud anyway. So, if I wanted to record my voice, for example, I do have a stereo mic here. So I can record to a stereo file. I'm going to go up to the media menu in PD and make sure that my audio input is set to my headset here. Yes, it is. Okay. So I should be able to record to this file. I'm also using my headset to record me right now. So I make an ADC, analog to digital converter. I'll hook it up. And right now, my sound should be going to file. Well, not to file. It should be going through. But if I turn this up, I do hear an echo because I'm monitoring what's coming in. That's why I have this output slider, so that you can just control the level of what you hear. Maybe you're using speakers, in which case, if you're using a mic that's there near the speakers, you probably want to turn this all the way down so you don't get feedback. If you have a headset like mine with headphones and a mic, you're probably alright, as long as your headphone volume isn't too loud and doesn't leak out. But anyway, I'm going to turn this up to make sure the voice is nice and strong. And I'm going to record voice here. Let's record to a different file name. Now you can browse your computer and record your files wherever you want to. Let's do this. Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. Ba 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 ba. There we go. That was louder. Turn it off. Now this should work. Here's the file. Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. Ba 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 ba. There you go. And so you have gain control and stuff like that. So this can be used as an easy, quick voice recorder or something like that. Or I also basically designed it so for those of you that do a lot of building in PD, sometimes when you move things around, it asks you if you want to save. Because any of these modules, when you open them up and change them on the inside, sometimes when you move them or if you're closing the patch, it'll ask you if you want to save changes to this too. So anyway, basically when you're building patches, now you have something you could just connect up to that gives you control for your DAC. You control your volume levels real easily. And then at the same time, you can also record quickly. Now this is a mute. So the mute works like this. Basically, it's just a quick way to mute, as you see. As soon as you click it, it mutes whatever your output, it mutes your output fader, and then when you click it again, it goes back to the same level that you were at. There we go. There we go. So it retains the level you were at. So that's a way you could quickly mute something, then unmute, and you're right back to the same level you were at. So there's the patch. And basically, what I'm going to do now is show you how the patch was built. Incidentally, if you're seeing this video and you're not at my website, you're seeing it on YouTube, and you like to download this patch, you basically go to, well, the YouTube description contains links, but you go to lwmmusic.com and you go to the software page and look for audio output and recording deck. So now, the next segment of the video is going to be the building. So that way, if you want to make your own customized one, you can do so. Okay, that's it for this section. Okay, so now we're going to build our audio output module. This module is going to be part of my synth modules series. So I'm going to build it in proportions and in the needs for my synth modules, but it'll be something that should be able to suit the needs of about anybody else who's building stuff in PD. But I am going to customize the colors and stuff. But since you may want to customize this for your own creations, we're just going to build it together. And and away we go. So, engage magnifier. Thank you, Crafty, for doing that. Although, Crafty, let's move this down a little bit here. Get this out of the way. Okay, so now I'm zoomed in here just so we can both see things better. Okay, first thing I'm going to start with is the DAC. The main object of this thing is to send sound out with a little bit of volume control. We're going to add recording possibilities too. But right now we need our output, and we're going to control the level of that output by making an amplifier slash attenuator. Star tilde, our good old friend. Let's make two, in fact, because this is going to be stereo. So here we go. This one up here. Hook this one up here. See if they fit together down here. They do. Nice. I'm a little anal as I go, even though a lot of things end up being changed later. Now to control the level of the left and right output, I'm going to use a vertical slider. Control Shift V is that shortcut. Now I'm going to control left and right with the same slider. But first things first, let's change the slider's properties into the, oops, I missed and hit the wrong, oh, I hit the background. Ugh. Get rid of you, we don't want you, thank you. Properties of the slider. I did it again. This is the slider, right? I'm clicking on it, there we go. Alright, so now its width, actually I'm going to change that now, make it 40 wide. You'll see later. Height, now this is important. This has got to go along with my range down here. The range that we want for an amplifier is 0 to 1. So its bottom and its top are going to be 0 and 1 respectively, because that's our amplitude range. Which means my height I want to set to 101. Why is this? Well, you're going to see in a bit, because basically the numbers that this outputs are going to be part of its display. And I want its display to look nice. So just trust me right now, and we'll see in a moment how that works. Alright, so now, since this is sending out 0 to 1, I also need to put a little bit of protection here so we don't get artifacts. Artifacts are snapping sounds that you get when numbers jump in the digital world. So I'm going to make a little thing here that protects you for getting those snapping sounds. The output from the slider goes into the pack message box here. Well, no, the object box, excuse me. And what pack does is it packs together different sequences of numbers or symbols or different things that you send through it. Right now what we want to do is make a message that includes this number here, and that will come into F here because it's coming through the left inlet. It'll replace the first initialization argument, and then the second initialization argument is not going to be 0, it's going to be 50. Now normally the second inlet would receive numbers in place of 50 as well, but I just want it to be 50 to start because it's always going to be 50. F here I use as a symbol for float. That's because the numbers that come through here are floating point numbers. They're decimal numbers with any number of numbers after them and so forth, so they're floating point. And so they continually change, so I use F here. This won't change, so I use 50 here. And then this will send a single message of those two numbers as they change into line tilde. Now what line tilde does is it draws a line between all the different numbers it receives as the first number in its message, and it draws these lines over the time in milliseconds of the second number it receives, which is always going to be 50. So over 50 milliseconds it will go from number to number to number that comes from this slider. And then it sends out its output. So basically it connects the dots, so to speak, in between every number that you go through in your slider. That way it'll help eliminate snapping sounds. And so we hook that up to the right inlet of both amplifiers, and that controls our level. Our signal will be coming into the left inlet of the amplifiers, and this will control its amplitude by sending it to the right inlet. Notice the line tilde object has the tilde. It's an audio object. Even though it draws these lines over 50 milliseconds worth of time, it does the math and calculates it out so that at the sampling rate, it's providing new numbers. It just takes 50 milliseconds to get there, but however many samples are included in those milliseconds, it provides those samples as need be. So in other words, it makes a nice smooth transition in your audio waveform shape. Thus, you don't get the snapping sounds. So anyway, now I want to make a display for this. Make things look beautiful later, but right now I'm going to move these down here. But for now, I do want to make sure this ultimately has a nice display for it. And so what I'm going to do is do things this way. All of your graphic objects have send and receive symbols. This allows it to send information like its number that it's on and receive numbers as well. The thing that I want to send with will be a symbol that is going to be $0, which represents a variable, a creation variable. Basically, when this patch opens, $0 gets replaced with a number that it generates that's unique to the patch. So that way, when this patch gets combined with other patches, it has its own unique name, or it has its own unique number that then could be part of the names of all these symbols that you make. For example, the rest of this is going to be output dash send. That's the send symbol for output. And I'm going to make the same thing here, except it's going to be RECV at the end, the receive symbol for output. So those are two symbols that are names that basically will send information and then receive information to and from this slider wirelessly. Now, if I have other sliders and other patches that have output as their name, output send, output receive, this won't be confused with them because it has its own $0 at the beginning. This thing will always have a unique name to this patch, and that way you can make this patch a part of other patches and not worry about your names as much. I just need to make sure the names that I use beyond the $0 are all unique within this patch. Okay, so that being said, let's make this. We're going to make a receive object out here. This is going to receive the numbers from the slider. So it needs to be R for receive, space, $0, output hyphen receive. I'm sorry, send. Don't know whether I'm coming or going. Now, this is a receive object, but it's going to receive information from here. And the information from here is being sent under the send symbol, $0, output, send. So basically this receive object needs to have a send as its creation argument. So now let's do this. Let's make a message here that's going to say label, and I'm going to say O for output, colon, and then I'm going to put a $1. The $1 is another variable like $0, whereas $0 gets filled with a number as soon as the patch opens, and it's a unique number for that patch. As other patches open up around it, they have their own numbers. This $1 gets replaced with whatever number comes out of here, which is going to be whatever number gets sent by the slider. And then the last step in this is going to make a send object, $0 dash output dash RECV. Because since we're sending this information to be received by the slider, we need to use the slider's receive symbol there. Okay? I like to make these things straight. A little bit off there. Crafty's anal. Crafty's not going to let me do this unless I get these little patch cables straight. There we go. So now I can actually test this out. Going into run mode. Look at that. Right above the slider, we're getting O colon and then the amount, the output level as I move up the slider. Now you can see hopefully, why my slider's height was important to be 101 pixels. It has a range of 0 to 1, and I want it to display in like percentage amounts, like 0 point and then like 2 digits of numbers. In order for that to happen, each pixel that you can basically move the slider to needs to be a number that rounds off to the nearest 2 digits beyond the decimal point. And the way to do that is think of it as percentages, 0 to 100 instead of 0 to 1. And then that way you get like a 0.80 instead of a 0.810223, Basically the numbers are lining up with the pixels. And so that's why I made it 101 tall in pixels, so every little pixel area that you select to move your slider bar onto is going to be a 2-digit number. Now, that's looking pretty good. So, the next part of this, that's our output. And right now that's a working output, except there's nothing hooked up to it. I'm going to move it down a little bit here. But what's going to hook up to it are inlets. And what I'm going to do, see, where do I want to put my inlets? How about here? Inlet tilde. I'm going to move this slider up, though. Get it straight, or else Crafty will not be pleased. Crafty is a Minecraft pig, and therefore he likes to get things nice and well crafted. Okay, so let's move our inlets there, and let's put them right here. Basically, whatever comes into this patch from outside patches or outside patching. Now, there's nothing I can do. These have to be diagonal. So I'm going to put these over here. All right, we'll go and go through there. Now, the next thing I want to do. This is also meant to be a recorder. And what I'm going to do is set it up so that we actually have a second slider for the recording aspect of it. I'm going to move this down because I think it'll be logical in like a channel strip to have this up here as in the control for the recording level, and below it the control for the output. I don't know. At least for me, that sounds good. Alright, so what I'm going to change here is the recording I'm going to think of as an input level. And so I'm going to change the word output here. It's going to have the same number ranges, but it needs to have a different symbol for its send and receive, so that you have different numbers here that can be graphically updated. Input. Yeah, it looks like I typed it right. Alright. And then that means I can duplicate these, make a set just for this slider. Input. Actually, all I need to do is change the OUT to an IN. Where's my cursor? There it is. And then I'm going to change this O to an I. Now, why am I using this? Why can't I just send the number? Well, I've tried that before. For some reason, when you send a label message and you just put the variable $1, somehow it doesn't work. It almost seems to need to have some text in front of it, but no spaces. That's why it's an I colon and then the variable. Because otherwise it sees it as a second aspect to the message. But it needs to be all one thing, so no spaces, but you need a little text at the beginning. Well, that's just the way it goes. sometimes syntax overrides logic. But anyway, now let's move this, and now you see it has its own numbers separate from the output slider. Okay, next thing I'm going to set up is when this thing opens, I'm going to make a load bang that will send out a bang to some messages to make my values what I want them to be upon open. And I'm going to put it just to the right of these guys here. So I'm going to have it do the work for me of, well, this is only sending a message for the labeling, so this is not sending a message to it. Well, this is the message for the labeling, but I can also do this. Where actually, just to be on the safe side, my input level, I'm going to have it be full on opening, whereas it would normally default to 0 because that's where sliders start off at when they open, unless you send them some other information. So I'm going to send it a 1. I'm going to send it to it directly here. Please. Thank you. And then my output level, I'm going to make it 80%, 0.8. So when it opens, it's not full blast going out to the speakers, but it's 80% of the way up. And the next thing I'm going to make here is another message. This is the famous semicolon PDDSP1 message. This is a message that turns the digital signal processing on, so sound is on when it opens, so that way things are working and running. Unlike these message boxes, the message doesn't get sent out a patch cable, it gets sent out wirelessly, so you start these kind of messages with a semicolon alone on the first line, and then the message is to PD, telling PD DSP1, meaning DSP on. And so, there we go. That's a good start for that. Next, I want to make the recording aspect of it. So what we're going to use to record is the object write sf tilde. And actually, I need to put a creation argument behind it of 2. So that has 2 inlets. This is the left and right channels, just like the left and right channels of the DAC for sound going out. This will be sound going to the file that we're going to record to. And so, what I need to do now is incorporate the levels of this for that. And in fact, what I'm going to do, let's delete these 2 cables here. I'm basically going to have these guys as immediate attenuation of the input coming in. Now before I hook this up, I want to utilize this again because I want the same protection against artifacts, those snapping sounds that make things sound so barbaric. If if you hear them when your sliders move. Okay. Oops, missed. There we go. Now let's hook this up to here. So now we have good, smooth fader controls of our input level. Now the reason why I disconnected them from below, so this way the input level can be controlled and will affect the output level here. So as you turn the input level down, your output level will go down too. The slider won't move, but it'll be a lower signal level getting into the output anyway. So that, I think, is good gain staging for this type of stuff, so that way you're hearing the loudness that's being recorded. Unless you turn your slider down here, in which case it won't affect the loudness of the recording. So you have the option to turn off output to your speakers while recording. Alrighty, so these guys are then going to go straight into write SF. This is the left side. Come on, you can do it. Hey, you can do it. This is the right side. Now, why don't I have any kind of pan controls or anything like that? Well, this is meant to be the output portion that comes after any mixing in your patchwork. So, you know, in my modules, I'm going to have a mixer section, and the main out will go here to this patch. And so this is just for recording and output to the speakers. It's kind of like the final stage. But mixing comes ahead of time, and that's where you do your panning. This is just your main out. By this point, all your panning between the left and right speakers should have taken place. Okay, so that's good. The next thing is we got to be able to control starting and stopping the recording. So actually there's 3 messages that are involved with recording. One of them is you need to tell it to open and then give it a file name telling it this is the file to open. Now before I do that, I want options as to the file names. So I actually want to create the object save panel. This opens up a save panel, just like open and save from the file menu. And it allows you to browse and to save your audio file wherever you want and name it. And so I want those options. And basically save panel is going to be banged. You basically turn it on. And what it'll do is it'll send the file name once it's entered to the object that follows through its outlet. And what follows is going to be the message that gets sent to write SF. And that message is going to be open and then the variable $1, meaning whatever comes in to the message from save panel. Now I'm going to make a little space here because there's some other things I'm going to do about this. Crafty does not like the positioning of things here. It's getting cluttered for his tastes. Alright, let me get a little sip of water here. As you can hear, my throat is a little hoarse. It's a little pony, in fact. Okay, so anyway, this is a message that goes to write SF down here. Look it up. I'm going to move these just to the side so I can see that there's a patch cable there. In fact, move all these over a little bit too. There we go. Next, let's make the trigger mechanism for recording. And what I'm going to do is make a toggle. That's a great way to turn things on and off. Because really, recording is something that you turn on and off. When you click this toggle, I want it to start recording. And then when you click it again to uncheck it, I want it to turn it off. And the way you can do that is by using the object select, which can be abbreviated SEL, 1-0. The toggle sends out a 1 or a 0. If it's unchecked and you check it, it sends out a 1. And then when it's checked and you uncheck it, it sends out a 0. That way you can turn it on and off. And the 1 will trigger some things to happen. It'll bang Save Panel, which will open a panel for me to enter a file name or browse. And then that goes into here, and that triggers this thing to know the file name. And then the second thing needs to be sent. What it is the message start. So, excuse me, for start to be sent, I need to do something here. Basically, I need a second message box with the message start, which tells it to start recording. But I need this to come after Save Panel sends out a file name. In other words, WriteSF needs to receive open with the file name first and then start afterwards. It needs to have the file name before it records. So I can do this by making a trigger. And what a trigger does is whatever comes in here will trigger multiple things to happen. First of all, what comes in there is technically a symbol, which is an S. And then once that symbol comes through, also at the same time, it's going to bang. Because a bang is what start receives. Now, I just saw something else I have to do. I can't have start be banged right away. I need to put a delay on it. So this delay object here, what it does is I put a 10 after it, meaning wait 10 milliseconds before sending out the bang. So the bang goes into delay. Delay waits 10 milliseconds, allowing this enough time to go through, be accepted, and then it bangs start, which then goes into WriteSF. You notice all these extra messages go into the left inlet of WriteSF. Sorry, Crafty, there's no cleaner way of doing this. Let's move this up here. And then when the toggle gets unchecked, you want it to stop recording. And then PD basically closes up the file and it's ready to use. So that takes another message. I'll put it right here along with these so they're all together. And that's the message stop. So that's the middle outlet here, because the way select works, first number it receives lines up with the first outlet, the next number, the next outlet over, and since there's only two, then it puts its remainder outlet here on the right side. The remainder outlet is always there. There's always an additional outlet to the ones that line up with the creation arguments. And that's something that outputs the value that any value that comes in that is not there in select's creation arguments. So that would be like if a 3 came through, which wouldn't happen because it's a toggle, but it makes it anyway. Now, this is going to be our recording button. So what I'm going to do now is right click on it, go to properties, and then I'm going to label it with an R. Then I'm going to try to put this R right in the middle of the toggle box. That means it's going to be x-axis. Let's see. This is the upper left corner that things are relative to. Here it makes it 17 because the initial placement of the label is to the right of the toggle box, and I don't want it there. I want it in the middle, so I'm going to make it like 3 pixels. Let's try 5. See what happens. The Y offset, negative values go up, strangely enough. Positive values go down from the left corner here. I want it to go down. I'm going to say 7, which is actually where it is. So let's see what happens. Yeah, the R is pretty much in the middle. Maybe move it down 1 more by making the Y value 8. 1 more pixel down. There we go. Alright, so that's our recording button to say start recording. I can make it bigger later or something, whatever might look better. And then next, this is our output level. I'm going to add one little feature to it. Let me line these up. In fact, these label positions maybe could be moved over just a little. Nah, I guess they're alright. I want to make a mute toggle button here. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this. That way its labeling position is already set up. And I'm going to put an M as its label for mute. And now what it's going to do is it's for muting the output. So what I'm going to actually have it do is the following. I'm going to put a little extra something on here. I'll leave that hooked up, but I'm going to make a float box, which is like a storage box. Things that come in through its right inlet that are floats or numbers get stored in here. And they only come out when they get banged in the left inlet. Now the toggle doesn't really work like a bang, so what I'm going to do is make another select 1, 0. I'm going to put it down here, running out of space, crafty. Okay. And now this is going to send the 1 to 0 or the 0 to select as to whether it's on or off. Boy, I am not lining this up right, am I? Here. Better. Okay. And then when it's checked and the 1 comes out, bang comes out here. Just like up here. When select receives the number that's in its creation arguments, it bangs out that outlet. So out this outlet, it will bang the float box. The float box will that's not what I want it to do. This is mute. So when it gets turned on, that means things should mute. So I'm going to put a 0 here. And that's the message to mute. I was thinking on off with 1 and 0. But no, when this is on, to turn this off. So it bangs a 0 through. Now, the numbers that come out of this thing get stored here. But I want to make sure it never receives the 0. Because actually, when you mute, it'll bang the 0 through, and then a 0 gets stored here. What I want stored here are just the numbers, other than 0, that you put in it. So, in other words, it'll return to the amplitude you had. Let me disconnect this. It automatically hooked it up there. There we go. Basically, it'll automatically return you to the number it was before. If I hook it up to here to select, and then use its remainder outlet, which is this one on the right, put that in here, basically when a 0 comes through here, it'll bang out the left outlet and do nothing. When it receives something other than 0, that number comes out the remainder and gets stored in float. So that way the 0 never gets through. And when the mute button gets turned off, it bangs this float to bang whatever the last number was back here. So that way your mute button mutes it, and then you can just return it to where you were. Now, I think what I'm going to have to do is test this stuff. What I'm going to do that is, since there are inlets here, I'm going to test this before making it even a sub-patch. Or should I make it a sub-patch first? Yeah, let's make it a sub-patch first. I don't want to put extra junk in here. Although it would be real simple. Actually, let me do that. Just excuse me, Crafty. This is going to be messy. Come on. Make an object. Yeah, put it up there. Every time I make an object and I don't see it appear, it's because it's attaching it to the last thing I touched. So I got an empty object box up there. Alright, I'm going to make noise. In noise tilde is a noise generator. And what it's going to do is it's going to generate noise and put them straight into here, which is the first place things go after coming through the inlet. So I'll put these in for now. It's a little messy, but this is a good test for now. I'm going to save. I'm going to turn DSP1 by hitting this. I'm going to turn input level up a little bit, because noise might be loud. There we go. Turn output up a little bit. That's alright. That level. Let me get a little bit quieter so you can hear me. And then what I'm going to do is press record. There we go. This is the folder where the patch is saved. And I made a subfolder here that I can store audio. I'll call it test. Enter. And then when you want to stop recording, you uncheck the toggle. There we go. Now, I can test the mute by doing that. It doesn't affect the input at all. So muting does not mute this level at all. Maybe someday I'll add a mute button to here if I feel it's necessary. But we'll see as time goes on. Alright, so let's check out the file. I have it back here. I'm going to open with, I don't like the default player, so I'm going to go with, let's just go here to media player. Media player was muted. I guess the last time I used it, I muted it. So, there, I muted it again. It worked. It's there. Okay. So, the functions of this thing seem to be just fine. What were some of these errors I got here? Save panel. No method for... Oh, that's from an earlier patch I was working on. Excuse me. Ignore that. Alright, so let's bring this back up. So now I'm going to do the first step in beautification. I'm going to go into edit mode. Oh, let me check this. Let's uncheck the mute. There we go. It went right back to where it was. So yeah, everything's working. Good. So now, let's move this stuff down. Well, actually, I'll move this stuff first since it's tricky. Yeah, I know, Crafty. If it wasn't so messy, I wouldn't have to worry about this. In fact, being told that by a pig. especially a Minecraft pig. Oh yes, I know you're cleaner than real pigs. Yes, you are, actually. Alright. I'm moving this down because I'm making an area to place as my canvas graphing area. Let's move this stuff out to the side here. Move this down further. Okay. Everything's now out of the way. Alright. So, what am I going to do here? I'm going to right click, go to Properties, Graph on Parent, and also I want this checked off too. Hide Object Name. And then I'm going to make, alright, I want this thing to be 75 wide. I keep my modules in intervals of 75, 150, 300, so forth. 150 tall should do it. Margin from the side and the x-axis I'll make 200, and then 50 from the top should be fine. Alright, it's going to have to be taller. 150 is not tall enough. Well, of course not. These are both 100 tall each. 300 is what I was thinking of, even though it's saying 150. So let's move these down. Alright. 300. Okay, now this is actually extra now, but I like that for the way I design things in some ways. I'm thinking here, maybe move this center, put the toggle under it. See if I can get this to fit. I want space at the top for the title of the thing. Of course, the number displays have to appear. How about this? Move this down like this, keep it about as center as I can get. Alright. Record. And then mute. Here. Alright. This is why I zoom in for this kind of stuff. Move this down a little further because there's going to be a title area up here. And then these up a little bit more. There. Okay. Save. Now I need to test this out. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to make a new patch. I'm going to save it. You need to give it a save location first, right next to the previous patch, and I'm going to call this test. So I can test out all the modules I make. Now this one's called Audio Output Stereo tilde with underscores in between. Alright, there we go. So roughly that's the positioning and how it kind of looks. And there's its defaults. You see the load bang worked. It made it 1 and 0.8. The positions looks alright. I might adjust them a little bit later. Now I can't did that happen? I press save. Well, hold on. We can take out the test noise now. There, got rid of it. And I can hit set, Control S, that saves. Alright. Unmute. Goes back to 0.8. We don't have any noise. Now, let's do this. Let's mute. Oscillator tilde 440. I'm going to lower this input level so we don't get blasted with a 440 tone. There we go. There we go. So we're working. Now I want to make it look a little better. Let's open it up. And let us do the following. I'm going to select everything and cut it. I'm going to put it back. Let me just show you why I do that. Because I want to put canvases down. Just Control Shift C. These allow me to put background colors in. And when you put it down, since this was made after the other stuff, it covers it up. But this I want to be a background. So that's why you Control A, select everything, Control X, cut, Command or Control Shift C, Command Shift C in Mac, and then you go Control V, put everything back, and you have your canvas made. I actually want to make two of them. Let's do this. Control, get rid of everything. Command Shift C. This will be my second one. Put over here, out of the way. Put everything back. Okay, I now have two canvae. All right, this one, since it was made last with everything missing, this is seen as the bottommost portion of the thing. You could only see the blue box going through there a little bit. Let me make it the size I want it to be. Now the size of this is 75 wide, so I'm going to make this 73 pixels wide. That allows for the pixel on either side for the border, which is the outside line that traces around the object. And then its height should be 298, 2 pixels less than 300. Now what color am I going to make it? Let's see, let's go with a dark gray theme for the outside borders. And I'm going to make a label for it. I'm going to call this output. Now the label is going to have a different color so we can see it. Let's make it white. Alrighty. Looks like I got it right in there. Even if it's just a little bit outside of here, it won't display. And you can test it by closing this window and you still have the other one open. Nice. Let me fix this a little bit more. In fact, I'm not going to use white for the label. I'm going to use gray. This will look good. And then I'm going to move its offset, X offset, over a little bit, about 15 pixels. There. Maybe that gray is a little dark. And it's a title. Let me make it all caps. In this font, that should look pretty good. I'm going to make it a lighter gray. How about this one here? Okay. There. Now, I'm going to put an inner canvas here. As you see, that would go on the inside of it. So let's make it, let's see, the other one is 73 wide. Let's make this 63 wide. That gives it 5 pixels at either side. And the other one's 398 tall. Now the top part, I'm going to make it 378 tall. Just because the top part is going to have more space for the title. And in fact, I must have done something wrong there. Oh, what am I thinking? 278. Alright, that makes a lot more sense. And its color is a little too light. There we go, let's use that gray this time. Give it kind of a metallic effect. Alright, I need to make it 273. I bumped the key before I typed the other digit in, 273. There we go. Now these guys I'm going to color as well. Hold on, this, yeah, leave it right there. Yeah. Alright. Let's try making them dark like the background. Front, I'm going to make gray like the outside. I mean the canvas, inner canvas that surrounds it. And let's make its label, which is the number display now. Since it's a dark gray, the outside, well, let me just leave it what it is right now. It's black. Okay. I'm going to do the other one the same way. Background, dark gray. Front, light gray. Label, leave as is. Black text. Move this down a little bit, giving stuff a little more room. These guys do look a little cramped. This could be taken over just a little. Now mute, the international symbol of it is yellow. And we'll make the front of it about this dark yellow here. Strange dark yellow. Leave its label. Oh, let's make the label the dark yellow. Leave this as black. There. Looks pretty good. The R, international symbol for recording, is red. Let's see, front is, leave it the way it is. Label, make dark red. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And that's how it looks as a module. Alright, not bad. Who says you can't make PD look good? Well, let me do a little more here. This number needs a little buffer at the top. There we go. Now word output. Actually, in the outer gray, I'm going to make a little bit lighter. Not the super dark gray or the black. It's going to be a little lighter. Its label, leave it the same color, but I think its text size can be 12. Makes it fit better. Look at that. That looks better. There we go. Now we have a nice working output bar. And since I showed you the process of making it, you can make your own now if you want to change it, you know. You could even make it horizontal display. Hold on here a second. I'm the king of like doing things before completely wrapping up. These guys do need to come up a little bit more from down below. There. And the numbers here, the labels, they're offset. I'm going to make 2. There we go. That looks a little better. Save, close. There we go. That's our end result. Now if we zoom out, there we go. Okay, so this last section of the video here, the tutorial on audio output and recording deck, is basically to show you what I didn't show you in the initial building process. Because when I initially built this, I didn't have a display on it. And then I decided to add it. And so I added it, but I didn't video that. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to zoom in, basically what the changes were. Basically everything is the same as far as the wiring and stuff is concerned, except for, since I made 2 arrays here from the put menu, go put in arrays. Here I'll make a 3rd just for the heck of it. Basically that's how you make an array. Now it's in the way. And then when you right click on it, you can go to its properties and change its size in display size, and change its ranges or its size as far as how many values it holds. So I'm going to just click out of these. Now that I've shown you that, basically I can right click on the array itself, go to properties, and these are 100 values. So its size up here in the other properties menu is 100. See, their name is just left and the other one's right. And wow, I actually have saved contents on. You don't need that. That just keeps the same values in the display for next time. But every time it opens, it starts running again, so it'll just clear out those contents anyway. And I have a Bezier curve display on it. That connects the dots, the samples, so it looks a little better in the display. But its actual display size, how it looks, is 75 pixels by 101 pixels. Because what I did to make this is I had to extend my background by another 75 pixels. So now the background canvas is, oops, if you don't hit its blue square, like in the lower section, you get the canvas properties for the whole thing. Here we go. Here's the canvas properties for the background canvas. See, its width 148. That's just 2 pixels less than 150, which is 75 plus 75, because the 2 halves of it are 75 in width, and its height is the same. That would not have changed. So that's 298, which is 2 pixels less than 300. And then the gray background here, the inner canvas, its size is 20 less, or no, 10 less, excuse me, 138, as opposed to 148 of the black background canvas. And then it's also 10 less here. No, here's where it's 20. Here's where it's 25 less. 273 instead of 298. The 298 is to keep it 2 pixels smaller than the outer red rectangle, so it fits right within the viewable area that gets graphed on the parent patch. And then I have it, this inner one, 273, because it's 25 pixels less, gives me enough room to display output up there. And that word output is actually here in the properties of the background canvas, where it's the label of the background canvas, and I have it gray. So that way it looks nice. If you just put a comment in there, you wouldn't see it, because comments you can't change the color of. So by using an actual label of the canvas, I'm able to put it up there. Alrighty, and then last but not least, behind each of these, you can kind of see the gray coloring's a little different here. The inner canvas and these display backgrounds are different canvi, in fact. There, if I click it, you can see it illuminates the upper left blue square of this canvas. If I right click on it, we can see its properties. So you can actually click through the array there. And basically it's 73 by 98 because the the array is 75 pixels wide and it's 100 pixels tall. So once again, I'm just taking off 2 pixels for the left and right sides. So this canvas fits right in the middle inside the border of the array. And so that's that. The other one's the same. Now, the way this writes to it is down here. I just hooked up the left and right amplifiers. These are the amplifiers that attenuate the signal going to right SF here at the bottom. So this is just the input level. Here's the cables that connect the input level amplifiers to the amplifiers that go out to the DAC. And so what I have here is a system where the display shows the signal level coming in, but not the signal level going out. It's more useful to display this, because this is just kind of like your output or monitor level control. This shows how strong your signal is going to be recorded, or at least how strong it is coming in. And then here I just have, let's see, tab right, objects, writing to the left and to the right tables. And then I have a Metro 100 banging away, so it keeps updating the display 10 times a second. And then up here there's a toggle to turn the display on and off. I have a load bang up here that turns on the input slider to full volume or 1 when the patch opens, because load bang bangs as soon as the patch opens. And then it turns the output slider to 0.8. With that noise I have there at the B in the OpenMe patch, perhaps it's best to make that a little lower, but I probably won't. And in any case, we also turn on DSP automatically from the load bang as well. And so that way, your DSP is running as soon as you open the patch. So that's the additional display section of the module. Now, it's pretty much a useful module that makes it pretty easy, as you saw for the demonstration, to just record straight to a file. Oh, well, I didn't tell you about the mono module, but really, it's the same deal. It's just I took away one of the channels, although I'll show it to you anyway, just to be sure. It always likes to get my permission when opening it. Okay, so I just have one display array here, twice the size though. So its background canvas is twice as big as well. So that way you just see the signal, the one channel. And basically, here is our one input amplifier, and that's what goes to tab right, and I just call it out. And because there's no point in saying left or right. The DAC is just going to the left side here. So that way you're just going to channel 1 if that's what you have set up as your in your audio settings and PD, and yeah, that's probably the case. So basically it's just going to go to the first channel. That's why it's going to the left. If you want to be able to hear it out both sides, you just connect up here to the right inlet on the DAC like I showed you earlier. Then it'll sound out both sides. It'll still be a mono signal because it's the same signal going to both sides. And it'll still go to a single channel file. As you see, right SF doesn't have any arguments behind it. When you don't have any arguments behind it, it defaults to one channel. If you put a 2 space 2 after right SF tilde, then you are writing to a 2-channel file or stereo file. And so that's that. That's how she works. Alrighty, so basically you can open up these modules inside of any patch as long as they're in the same folder, or the other thing you can do is you can put these inside your PD extra folder. There's a folder called extra within the PD program files. Well, I keep it in my program files folder, but in your PD's program folder, there is a folder called extra. And basically when you have something in there that you're calling up, as long as the patch is in there, it'll load it up, whether or not it's in the same folder here. So that might be something to do if you don't want to have these in the folders with all your patches. You could put these in the extra folder, and that way it just opens up directly. And you don't have to worry about having these in the folder with your patches. It'll just always come up. But then if you share those patches with other people, you won't have the PD file necessarily included with it. So it might be good if you're going to share your patches with other people and you're using this module, put these files, whichever one you use, in the same folder with your patch. That way it'll open up. Okay, so that's it. I hope you enjoy the software, and if you found the tutorial useful on it, please do subscribe to my LWM music channel on YouTube. I'm continually making PD patches, and as more come out, you'll see the videos come up, and you can come check them out at lwmmusic.com. You're also welcome to leave a comment in the comment box, and if you have a question, for example, you can leave one there, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Maybe the answer to your question will help out some other people too, so that would be great. Okay, well that's it. Take care.